channel. If you guys are new, my name is Kaitlyn and I post videos every week and have some great content coming out soon about bullet journaling, music, and lifestyle. If you guys are into that kind of stuff, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and turn on notifications to be notified whenever I post. Alright, enough of this self-promotion and let's start talking about this bullet journal theme. So for this bullet journal theme, I started off with a minimal border, which I just went in with a pen. By the way, all of the products that I'm using will be linked in the description box down below. And I went in with this thin cursive font, which I have been consistently using since the September bullet journal theme. I will link down the whole playlist so you guys can binge watch all of my bullet journal themes there. I started drawing in these textured trees with different patterns, and originally planned that I was actually going to not have any color because I thought the textures would be enough, but then added in some color later to bring in a little bit more pop and a little bit more depth on top of the textures. I added in some lines to make it look like the trees were sitting on top of something and not just floating randomly around, and to give a more snowy feel. I then went in and added some trucks to seem like they were kind of hunting for trees, and added this nice sparkle detail on the top of December. So my main inspiration for this theme actually came in my last bullet journal. Before I started filming my bullet journal setups, I did have an idea and I kind of elaborated on it. You can see in a picture here that I did sort of have a rough idea of what I was going to do, but basically I wanted to experiment with all of these different kinds of textures of trees without bringing in too much color and being minimal, because the whole point of all these bullet journal spreads for me is to make it as minimal, quick, and simple as possible while still maintaining the aesthetic across all of my bullet journal spreads. Anyway, moving on to the next spread, which is the quote page, I put in a beautiful quote about lights and Jesus. I am a Christian, just so you guys know. But anyway, I just used these different fonts to sort of bring out certain keywords in the sentence and give more variety to the quote and not make everything look kind of cookie cutter and the same. I then started drawing in my illustration with more of these textured trees and kind of grouped them together, adding some fairy lights. That's what the lines are. I know it looks kind of weird just like that, but I added in some fairy lights to sort of make this nighttime scene. I did get this illustration inspired by a drawing on Pinterest, so I will link that down below for you guys to check out as well. I also went in with my white Jelly Roll pen to try and fix one of the corners of the tree, but that did not work out since the white is kind of just filler for small mistakes, and I don't have an actual whiteout that I can go in with and just strip down that tree. So anyway, I then added in the small fairy lights and then a picnic table to sort of give a starry nighttime vibe as if it were winter and Christmas. For the title page, I then added in some color. Like I said before, I added in this color to kind of bring in a little bit more depth and pop. And I used Crayola Super Tips and went in with the classic red for the truck and some light green and then a yellow to just kind of bring in some contrast. I don't really know why, but I just thought, yellow would be a nice color since they are already some sort of different trees that you wouldn't actually see. Might as well bring in a sort of more fictional color to add some contrast. I then went in and did the same thing for the quote page illustration and mixed in dark and light greens to bring in a little bit more of that contrast. Moving on to the next page here, this is going to be my December calendar. So here I added in some very nice little plants and berries. This is very different than my first page where everything was a little bit smaller. In this, I tried to make it a little bit more classy while still keeping the same sort of minimal-ish feel. The boxes for the calendar are 6 by 6, and here I actually didn't do a traditional calendar like I normally do. I just did a line straight down and then kind of broke them into these sections so I could still know what day it was. Alright guys, so you can see right here that I'm just adding in little borders to sort of mark where each day is, and I also thought that this was some just really nice detail to sort of add a little bit more of an elaboration to the page. Then went in with my black pen and started outlining the drawings that he drew earlier and started coloring it in with the same Crayola super tips used in the title to bring in some unity across the pages. I used two contrasting colors on the plants to bring in a little bit more depth, and then I used my ruler to sort of make this extra box. This box is hopefully going to be used for any tests coming up in December. And you can sort of see here that I did make a mistake on the word tests. It was kind of veering down, so then I used this graph paper to sort of cover it up, and then felt like that was the only graph paper there, so it was sort of strange and isolated, so I added in more of this graph detail on the bottom corner, and I actually ended up really liking it. I felt like it added a lot of texture and warmth to the spread. Basically, for the tests, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using each color as a specification for each subject. So for example, the top pink one is going to be science. So whenever I have a science test, I will be using that as a guide and kind of just put the little pink dash there. And I'll also be using that pink dash to show whenever I should study for it. You can see here that I did use a gray erasable marker to try and erase a sort of crooked line that I made for the gray. But the thing with that is you need to wait until it's completely dry before you can erase it. And I just totally forgot about that, so that's kind of what turned out. The gray kind of got splattered everywhere, but overall I am very happy with this page. If that hadn't happened, if I weren't so perfectionist about my lines, then it would have looked a little bit better. I then added in some more of this plant detail to the bottom of the page on top of the textured graph paper, and some more red berries to kind of tie it in with the top. I've kind of been consistently doing this every month now, but I will explain it again if you guys are unsure what this is. Basically, I'm going to be writing down tasks that I only do once a week and then labeling them down here. So I'll just write down the date so I make sure that I'm doing those things once a week and still keeping track of them. Kind of like a habit tracker, but a lot more simple and only once a week. Added in this all is calm, which actually later I'm going to be adding in the all is bright lyrics to a Christmas song. Moving on to this habit tracker, I brought in more of the cover page after a sort of deviation in the monthly calendar and brought back the different kind of mixed trees and fairy lights. The scene is a little bit different here in the fact that now it is sun and not the moon. It's honestly not that different, but I wanted to add just a little bit of variation. To the left, I tried out a different monthly calendar than I normally do, where I just listed out the 30 days. I know there aren't 30 days in December, there are 31, but I included 32 boxes just to make it a little bit more aesthetic and work with what I was trying to do here. I tried to make these kind of look like presents. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough room to add in bows for all of them, so I just ended up adding a bow to the very, very top one. I then decided to try something a little bit new here in order to kind of prioritize my school, and I wrote down test notes and like study dates, test days and study times so that I could figure out when I would do all this stuff, and added a very, very simple mood tracker. I find that when I have a more complicated one, I kind of actually deviate from it and I find it less propelling to actually try and do it. So I tried to make everything as simple as possible this month and not too color complicated. I then added in my gratitude tracker to kind of bring in more gratitude and more positive energy, I guess. I don't really know what to talk about right now. This is kind of awkward. And then colored everything in. Of course, since it is the month of December that we're drawing for, I added a little gifts for, and in order to tie in that monthly calendar, I also added it back in the leaves and the berry. I used the 5 Christmas colors for the habit tracker and then moved on to the next page. This is a different spread that I have never really done before, but I have been using just off the camera. This spread I decided to incorporate into this month's theme because I find that it is so helpful. It's simply a homework tracker where I'll just write down the due date of each homework, what subject it is, and the assignment. So the left column is for me to write down the letter of the subject that it is. The very right column is for me to write down the due date, and the middle is for me to write down the assignments that are due. And whenever I'm done, I will just check it off on the side so that I know that I'm never missing any sort of homework or deadline. The next page here follows the minimal kind of feeling of the left page, and it's just a brained up page because I felt this was so helpful last month. And especially for December, there's definitely going to be a lot of things going on, and I decided to incorporate this brained up into this month as well. I added in more of the graph paper detail from the monthly spread page, mainly to cover up another mistake that I made on some trees. But overall, it still turned out really cute. I liked the little frayed detail on the edges, simply because it was a spiral that I tore out of, but it just adds some nice character. And then wrote down all is bright for the all is calm that came before. For this final page, I feel like I've been talking so much. Anyway, for this final page, what am I doing? I don't know. Okay, I am drawing the weekly spread tracker, and I just kind of added in the same cursive font that was used in the December and did it for every single day. I have been using this font pretty consistently, as well as this spread. I started in, I think, either October or November. Anyway, it was brought to me by a channel called Pickup Lines. I will link her down below. I obviously want to give credit, and then I drew in some trees at the bottom to tie it in with the rest of these spreads. So I know the tree sort of looks like a snake when in that pattern. I did not mean for that to happen, but I will probably go in and color it later. It did not occur to me at that time, so. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was slightly entertaining to watch me draw. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to, again, like, subscribe, and comment down below. It helps out my small YouTube channel so much. Thank you guys for watching, and bye! Oh, and also, if you guys stuck to the ending, you guys get to see what it actually looks like. My filming setup is absolutely chaotic, so, yeah, anyway, if you like that kind of behind the scenes sneak peek thing, I will incorporate that more.